Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Michael Wall, the Blood Detective. Thank you so much for joining me today for this scintillating conversation about toilet bowl dangers. And the reason I decided to do this talk is because the toilet bowl is about the most toxic place in your home, and no one seems to know how to manage themselves beyond the basics to mitigate or prevent disease from affecting you from your toilet directly. So let's get into this conversation. I'll first let you know that I'm a doctor of chiropractic. I have a board certification in nutrition and also a master's degree in sports nutrition certification. I provide life coaching and acupuncture to my clients, and I do have a medical diploma, but not an active license to practice medicine. So let's get into toilet bowl dangers, and I'll first begin by letting you know that this information is for your education. It's not meant as a substitute for sound medical or health advice. So this is going to be totally practical, right to the point, and it could change your life and change your health if you pay attention right now. So, surface germ contamination. So, high touch surfaces like toilet handles, door locks, and faucets harbor bacteria like E. coli and staphylococcus. Now, you might know this already, but hopefully hearing it again will make you more aware so that as you go about your day, you will be more cognizant of all of the various ways in which you can transmit and contract disease, and you'll know what to do about it as well. So how do we manage the surface germ contamination? We use a paper towel to touch surfaces. We carry disinfectant wipes or hand sanitizer. So I carry baby wipes with me everywhere I go, and I'll use them to open up a door handle or to touch anything that I can't clean myself. You might say, oh, that's a lot of trouble, Dr. Wald. Yeah, it is, but it's worth your health. You know, it's been estimated that by about this time, if not within the next several years, the number one cause of death on this planet will not be heart disease and cancer. It will be infectious diseases. And you must also remember that most infections that we acquire today are becoming more and more and more resistant to antibiotics. This is a very dangerous problem. You want to prevent infections. So let's talk about airborne pathogens from a toilet flushing. Now get this, flushing of your toilet aerosols, germs, spreading them all over the place and throughout the air. So they call this the toilet plume effect. So what do you do about that? Well, you close the lid before you flush, if you can, and step away very quickly. If you cannot close that lid, you want to be several feet away. You might say, several feet, that's not practical, Dr. Old. I know, but we know that this aerosol effect can literally go more than 10 feet in either direction. So close that lid if you can. And if it's a toilet in public, let's say it doesn't have a lid, try to find one that does. And if not, well, you're on your own. So what about hand washing? So unwanted or unwashed hands, I should say, spread viruses and bacteria to shared surfaces. So you want to wash hands thoroughly for at least 20 seconds and use the hand sanitizer as a backup. So really important to do that because we're shaking hands, we're sharing food with people. It's really gross. This is just what you need to do. In terms of contaminated toilet paper dispensers, so the hands touch the dispenser area, potentially contaminating the paper. So it just happens. So what do? You pull toilet paper without touching the outer roll. Avoid using paper that's fallen out. Definitely don't use paper that's fallen out of the dispenser. But sometimes kids will do that. It'll fall out, they'll grab it, and they'll start using it. I saw a child a few days ago who was eating something. He dropped it on the ground, put it in his mouth, and the mom wasn't even looking. So things can happen, parents, when you don't know what's going on. So you want to teach your kids these proper habits as well. And what about wet surfaces and fungal infections? So damp floors and surfaces promote athlete's foot and other fungal issues. The solution, never walk barefoot in a bathroom, even if it's your own bathroom, and wear shoes or sandals minimally. What about sexually transmitted diseases? Well, although they say it's rare, how they would know that I really don't know, viruses like HPV, human papillomavirus, can survive briefly on moist surfaces. So you want to use a toilet seat cover or place tissue paper over the seat. Very important there. And other types of sexually transmitted diseases may also survive on surfaces. And then there's exposure to harsh cleaning chemicals. So you want to, the inhaling of strong disinfectants can irritate the lungs and trigger asthma, for example. So you want to limit the time inside if strong fumes are present, and choose ventilated stalls if possible. And then what about lack of soap or paper towels? Well, inadequate hygiene supplies reduce your ability to clean up properly. If there's not enough toilet paper, there's no toilet paper. Always carry travel size hand sanitizer and tissues as a backup. I also have, because I do camping, there's little pellets which are dehydrated, well, they're squeezed, compressed pieces of toilet paper. And in a packet about maybe 5 or 6 inches, you can have 6 pieces of toilet paper. You take that little thing and then you just add a little water to it, and then it just becomes a wet wipe. So those are available, they're inexpensive, or you can just bring wet wipes with you. They have this very tiny packets of wet wipes, so you can definitely carry those. And if you're going out with many people, several people, maybe bring a couple of packets. You just never know. So what are the top 6 blood tests for monitoring immunity? And the reason why I mention immunity is because if you should contract an infection from any of the ways in which that I just discussed, the only thing that's going to save you from getting an active infection is your immune system. Now, these are only the top 6 immune tests that I'm listing here. If I sit with a client, they might need a completely different set of tests based upon their circumstances. But these are the top 6 most of the time. CBC, a complete blood count with differential. And I've described here that'll give us all your red blood cells, your white blood cell numbers, the different types of white blood cells. The white blood cells are your immune system. And then high sensitivity C-reactive protein, which is a very important test for inflammation and also for infection. And then vitamin D. An immunoglobulin panel like immunoglobulin G, A, and M. Immunoglobulin A, by the way, is what's in your mucous membranes of your mouth and your lungs, the genital areas inside where there's mucous membranes. And when that IgM is low, your immune barrier is diminished, and then infections can get in much more easily. So if you have a low IgA, you want to fix that, and there are ways of doing that. And it's actually quite common. It's about 10% of the population that have low immunoglobulin A. And then there's lymphocytes, which are antiviral cells, and there's specific types like CD4 and CD8 and natural killer cells. You want to make sure that they are strong in terms of numbers. And then finally, a cytokine panel, which measures different inflammatory and immune markers. So if someone is immunocompromised, they in particular need to take these cleaning strategies and these hygiene strategies a lot more seriously. So when I sit with a client, I go through their entire medical history and do the lab tests that I think are the most appropriate, and then provide the nutrition in the form of nutritional supplements and foods that are targeted to nutrition to reduce one's chances of getting a worse case scenario infection from any of these examples of infection sources. But of course, the strongest immune system in the world is not going to protect you from some strong bugs. So a few simple ways of managing your toilet bowl hygiene can save you quite a lot of disease and quite a lot of stress. So I hope that this podcast was useful for you, and I'll see you at the next one. Thanks for joining.